So right now there's a lot of games coming out, and people are playing all sorts of stuff at the moment.
What games are people playing right now?
Yeah, right.
Not Fallout.
Yeah,
it's not. I haven't
Fallout,
ever heard of that.
Call of Duty, other games.
That was
I'm
last
playing
week's
Fallout.
topic.
I'm clearly playing Fallout. Yeah. But Garrett Hagood brought up a good question for today's show, and that is how to keep players in the world of Destiny. Now, I think one thing Bungie is doing this holiday season is their new Refer a Friend program, where people will, if you've been Sherpa-ing people through the raid, etc., you can basically give feedback to your teammates. I think that's a really good way to keep the community interacting. But how do we think we can keep people enticed in the world of Destiny with all this competition right now?
Sorry, just so I understand the Refer a Friend program, I thought it was sort of not fully detailed, but there will be a bonus for referring a friend.
That's correct.
Okay, but there's no other in-game things happening if I'm like helping people through the raid.
Not that we know.
It's like
of
if you
yet.
find a new player who wants to play, not just like, hey, I helped this Guardian out. That's a different thing.
Correct.
Okay, help a friend versus refer a friend. Do both, Guardian.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Jose, we'll start with you. How do you feel that Bungie could keep the players immersed in their world right now? Like, what changes need to happen?
Well, I mean, I definitely want to take a second to applaud how the Taken King rolled out. And I do think that at the end of the day, there you go. There you go. No, you do it for real.
It's an animation.
No, I think the rollout plan was really smart. I mean, the base game came out, then the raid came out, then Banner and Trials came out, then Hard Raid came out. I think that the constant surprises that came with the first couple of weeks of Taken King are a really smart way to keep people talking about the game. I will say, though, that that list seems to have fallen silent the closer we got to Fallout and Call of Duty. It almost feels like,
well, they got to play too, man. They're playing Fallout now.
Yeah, so I think maybe that's it, or maybe they just didn't want to compete like directly. I mean, I do feel like Bungie is very content with you coming back to Destiny and then going away to something else, only to come back later. I think that that is part of something that they are okay with.
I think they were okay with Halo 5 actually not taking too many players away.
Yeah, Halo 5's multiplayer is really good.
Yeah, actually, it's divided. I know some really big Halo fans that aren't a fan, but then I also know people who really like what they've done. So.
But I do think Bungie could do a better job of introducing players to Destiny. And so, like, my knee-jerk reaction to part of this question, when I think of keeping players, I guess I'm really answering, like, how to introduce players to Destiny better. I think the base game should be free to play. I think a portion of the base game should be free to play.
Moving into this, second and a half year, that might be good timing.
The only bad thing, though, is that the base game is not good. Like, the base game is not.
It's not
great.
It gets its hooks in you.
So time out. It's not bad.
It's good. It's not bad.
Exactly.
It's middling in certain places, and it gets worse when Bungie puts out an expansion and then like kills the Crucible playlist or kills the the Vanguard playlists that are on there. You're kind of. I get the tease. I get how that's supposed to work, and I think that Guardians are within levels where that's okay, but we see it as kind of a limitation. So I think to add to this free-to-play model, why not do what maybe what WoW was doing at one point, where like you refer a friend and they get a preview of the Taken King as part of it, right? Or maybe like the first you're done with the base game,
like a beta experience almost, where they're like, you have this for 48 hours or whatever it is.
I have two friends who I'm dying to get to play Destiny, and every day I turn to them. Well, not every day, but every other day I turn to them on IM and go, "Hey, you gonna get Taken King?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, I wish I could say, okay, here's a referral to you two to try out the Taken King, because you both have the base game. You just don't want to. You just don't want to play the rest of it. So I was like, why not try out some of Taken King and then you decide?
I mean, that's funny. I have not thought about anything like that at all. It sounds really smart. I wonder if it's just really complicated, though, right? Because the ideas behind share play on PlayStation are kind of there, which is like, if you could only just play this game through your friend's access or whatever it is, but it doesn't work out that great. But meaning, you'd think a lot of games would do this. Like, you know what? Download it, try it. Some of them do have, the demo. And
they did that for Destiny for a while. Yeah, the demo.
But but what I'm leaning towards is it is an interesting thought for this game, which is very persistent. Why can't you just like? We talk about this a lot. Like, sometimes I just want to use a gun at its max level and try it out. Like, similarly, I'm sure you'd be like, dude, you have to play Trials of Osiris. Just come in, play one round, And how do you get them there?
Yeah.
Because it might get them totally hooked.
I mean,
so
trials would not be a good first thing to do in Destiny. You would get destroyed.
Depends on your friends.
Yeah. Depends on how much carrying your friends.
But I actually think that's a really interesting idea. It feels very like complex. I just feel like more people would do that if they could. But probably the development versus the risk versus reward there. Like you might get a lot of people wanting to abuse the demo, because that happens too. I've certainly played demos where I'm like, yeah, I got enough out of it. And to your point, and I think that's what you're saying, the beginning of the game, not the right demo. How do you like let them just play like one of the parts of the raid maybe? You know, what if you could somehow segment these? Yeah, what about that? Demos within that are just a small experience that you each hop into. That's a really interesting idea.
If I was working on Oryx and like I got him like halfway down, then it's like fades to black and it's like, you want to finish the fight?
No,
you gotta pay $3.99 to continue. That might be bad.
So it's really interesting, but there's other factors here too, right? Remember
that's the microtransactions Liguri with his agenda.
No.
Yeah. Remember how much you've learned about Destiny that is mechanical now, and we've talked about going between games and how it is with Destiny for us now. It's like you can pick up and play.
Jumping into Halo, I kept double tapping to jump and holding Y.
Let me just finish that point, which is don't forget how much you would have to explain to somebody, like, what is the menu? What is this? The games are built in a way that it teaches you a lot in the first 5-6 hours.
Yeah, and there are plenty of Sherpas out there, but you need to know a Sherpa to have a Sherpa, or you need to know people who play or be able to meet people who play. I do want to say, though, you bring up an interesting point that I forgot about, which is that I remember during the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 era, you heard about a lot of developers who were sort of reticent to put a demo of a game on their respective digital shops because there was that fear of
they won't buy it.
They're not going to buy it. But I would counter with that and say, like, at the end of the day, like, playing is what will ultimately like make someone a believer. And I do think that if you're trying to sell a base game that is a year old, like that's a hard sell to anyone. You always are putting the new content up front, which is why the Taken King has the Taken King right on the front box, right? Like there's mention of the 2 expansions, but it's all about that new hotness. It's not about the old hotness.
You're also locked out of a ton with the base game. Like if you get the year 1 version of Destiny right now used or something, you're locked out of a lot.
But to use an expression I really despise, you get your beak wet and you figure out from there, well, like, do you want to go a little further?
I'm just saying the product that you can still purchase on the market is not great. And if it was free, then that'd be awesome. You know?
Right. So whatever it is, I think there's a slice or a segment or even a big full version that just you only get so far, and just let them do it and change it to that model. It's really interesting. I think they'd probably be hesitant to without a deeper microtransaction model.
I don't think it hurt WoW though to let people try the first 10 levels, which that was the way that some people got introduced to World of Warcraft.
And now it's free to play, right?
Referral.
Part of it.
I don't want to. I haven't kept up with my WoW games, so I definitely don't want to commit to something there. But I do think that Destiny is this game that has these long legs that, you know, they're promising like potentially up to 10 years of stuff happening within Destiny. Let's just say. I mean, that's not.
No, I think this is
statement they've made.
Very smart point. I've never even thought about it, you know, because it's not really. I'm not losing sleep at night wondering how they'll sell more Destiny.
Yeah,
but I'm more but it's a really fascinating point, which is it'd be great. There'd be more people to play with, and that is a challenge at times. And to you, the original question, which is how do you keep players hooked?
Yeah,
and I think that's the other side of this coin that we just didn't talk about, which is like we are getting into that zone again. Like what's next?
Yeah.
Because we now
they've been very silent. They've been very, very silent. The community's kind of like, give us something. We need to know something's coming, you know? The hardcore.
So there's some things coming, you know, and I'm going to give Destin a great segue here that he's going to love. But, you know, we've got the gunsmith updates, obviously, with the weapon parts that are coming in the November update. They're talking about the November update, but they're not super significant. You know, we want the Nightfall to be improved. But even that is still like, we need a DLC pack at this point. I keep talking about, I think PSX could be a place. I hope. I don't know. But they really need to announce something, even if it's next February. Like, throw us a bone, because we're really wondering at this point. But, you know, Iron Banner is coming back for, you know, the next round here. And so that's, you know, probably something we want to talk about, right, Destin?
Yeah.